Do you remember the good old days? When gas guzzlers ruled the world and EVs used to look something like this? Well, Japan sure do. And they would like for this to go on forever and ever and ever. But sadly, now EVs look more like this. And Japan does not like it. Actually, Japanese automakers have been staunch opponents of EVs. They've instead been promoting technologies like hydrogen fuel that's, it's cool technology when it doesn't explode. Where were we? Oh yeah. Japanese automakers suck at making EVs. Just look at Toyota, like the biggest car manufacturer in the world. They're making shit like this one, the B4ZX. I didn't even make that name up. That's the actual name. And it costs like, $55,000 for a range of around 400 kilometers? That's around 200 freedom miles for you all Americans. That's like the best EV they have. And they're the #1 car maker in the world. They really don't give a shit about EVs. And this Honda, it looks super cool, this Honda E, but the range is like 150 miles or 250 kilometers. And that's obviously way lower if you ever drive in the actual world. Plus, it's like $40,000. What the heck were they thinking? This is like a showroom car. On the EV front, they're getting crushed by Tesla and BYD, both in price, range, and whatever design this is. And I just want to ask myself, what happened? Japan used to be the world leader in fuel-efficient cars. They still are. Their hybrid vehicles are the biggest sellers in the world. As you can guess, as the economist and business-savvy person I am, I've done some research. And there are 3 main factors why Japan has been lagging so far behind. And the first one is their hybrid focus. Because Japan was first out there with the hybrid style cars. The Toyota Prius, you probably heard about it because it's the world's best selling hybrid car ever. And it came out in 1997. That's insane! So the first issue is just they're so entrenched in the hybrid technology. And I think they thought that they could just swing by to the EV field, but it turns out these technologies are very, very different, which they found out the hard way and which is why they're so much more focused on hybrids than EVs. And the second one is government policies. Especially China, but also the US and Europe, you've seen huge subsidies for EVs and you just don't see it here in Japan. Instead, Japan has been, subsidizing small cars, like these tiny cute K car. If you can drive it, please do, because it feels like you're going 200 miles an hour when you're reaching 50. So cool. I love them myself, even though you might die if you hit a leaf. But anyways, they've been fueling money into these cars and into new, kind of untested technologies. I talked before about hydrogen fuel cell cars, and they're pouring money into that, hoping that it will be the next big thing. And so far, very little success, but the Japanese government still keeps pushing that. And lastly, it's just Japan's infrastructure around EVs. There's not that many charging stations. And I think also something that hampers EV adoption in Japan, which is only at 5%, mind you, is that the infrastructure for existing gas cars and hybrid cars is just so good. Look at this rest station on a highway. This is just one of 1,000 rest stations all around Japan, which is just like a theme park, both for adults and kids. It's so cool. And still, they have gas stations and stuff, but they do not yet have many EV charging stations. I think that's a huge turnoff for Japanese people when they think about EVs. But don't you worry, EV cars and Japan lovers, if there's any of those here, because Japan is actually trying to catch up. There's some serious strategic moves by Toyota, Nissan, and other car companies to catch up to the Western world and especially to China, which is what they fear the most, I 100% believe. Because Tesla's a competitor, but compared to the Chinese competitors, oh my god, Japanese companies are shivering. So let me go through what the big boy is doing, Toyota. They are actually building 2 massive electric vehicle battery factories in Japan, and they're getting subsidies from the government. Yes, the Japanese government is finally waking up and they want more EV stuff at home. Toyota's goal here is to be fully self-reliant on batteries, so they don't need to import them from China or any other place that might cut off the EV supply. And they also just want to improve their expertise in EV batteries, both for hybrids that they're making money off now, but also in the future for EVs. Toyota's strategy has for long been that they just don't think EV batteries are ready to be put in EV cars. And yes, we'll get back to that later, but they've partly been right because they're raking in cash from their old car models. But now they see this opportunity to escalate the battery production, which is why they're putting billions and billions of dollars into making their own EV batteries. Okay, over to Honda, another huge manufacturer in Japan that is also trying to get into the EV field. I mean, I was mocking them a bit before for this Honda E, but I think it's a really cool car and it's probably a good sign of more good things to come. Because Honda is partnering with GS Yuasa, one of Japan's largest battery manufacturers, and they are together building 2 massive EV battery plants so that Honda also will be completely self-reliant on their own made batteries, basically capturing that part of the value chain so they can improve it and get better products. Now, over to the black sheep of the bunch, Nissan. You probably heard about Nissan, not only for the cars, but also for their scandals with Carlos Ghosn, their former CEO, being ousted and then hunted down to Lebanon, where he now resides and is hiding from the Japanese government, who is trying to get him at whatever cost, and where Nissan's leadership seems to be very murky, and it kind of seems like they were in on it and they wanted to oust him because they didn't want to lose control to Renault. It's a whole story. I don't want to get into it too much here, but you should read up on it. I'm sure there's millions of really cool documentaries on Netflix, because I've just seen one. But anyways, Nissan, with Carlos Ghosn at the time, used to be one of the first companies to create a viable EV. And here it is. This is the Nissan Leaf. I mean, it looks kind of weird, but at the time, this was the shit. Like, this car could actually go places back in the days where EVs were a joke. So kudos to them for starting this EV revolution. But sadly, and partly probably because of Carlos Ghosn's departure, they now make kinda crappy EVs, to be honest. But I'm here to tell you, they're at least trying to get back to their EV prowess. So, as you might have guessed, they kinda didn't believe in EVs for a long time, and they sold off a huge part of their EV supply chain to a Chinese company called Envision Group. And now that company is basically supplying batteries to Nissan without at all having to be a partner with Nissan. So this is kind of scary, right, for Nissan. And so Nissan actually acquired a company in 2022 called VEJ, which is Vehicle Energy Japan. Nissan is fueling in cash into this company to increase its battery production. But so far, their efforts are way smaller than what we've seen on Honda and especially on Toyota. So I think, don't bet all your horses on Nissan, because they're still very much in the game of promoting, gas cars and hybrids. But, there's a wild card here. Namely Panasonic, which was actually the main battery supplier for Tesla for the longest time. And they've ridden the whole EV wave. Their stock has basically shot up ever since they became an EV partner with Tesla, and they're making tons and tons of EV batteries. But, as you might have heard, Tesla is also trying to make their batteries in-house. So Panasonic is now focusing exclusively on Japanese competitors. Namely actually Mazda and Subaru, which Toyota actually has a huge stake in both of these companies. But it's really cool to see all the Japanese battery expertise finally gathering together to seemingly and hopefully create real good EVs for the foreseeable future. But here comes the kicker. Does this even matter? Like, we've been talking about how EVs are no longer relevant, how America is trying to ban every Chinese car out there basically, and then how in America and Europe, EV sales are actually slowing down rapidly. There's many rumors going around that Chinese car manufacturers have made so many EVs that the Chinese market don't want them no more. And so instead, China is now oversupplying other markets with their excess EVs, which makes them super cheap in Southeast Asia or in Europe, where there's thousands of cars just standing in cargo depots because nobody wants them. This is not a good market to be in if you want to sell cars, especially if you're investing billions in this technology where you don't have a foothold yet. And as I hinted at before, Japanese car makers love that the EV trend has been so slow to catch on. Because Toyota, the biggest car manufacturer in Japan, is also the biggest car manufacturer in the world. In 2023, they sold more cars than any other company, and they sold almost no EVs. So imagine just how good it has been for them to be a slow adopter of EVs. But I think even Toyota knows that there is an end to gas cars in the future, which is why they're putting billions and billions of dollars into EV technology. And yeah, the government of Japan is also pushing for a greener EV future with multiple charging stations opening up every week in Japan, and that is accelerating as we speak. They want the EV future to happen too. And sure, demand for EVs has been slowing down a bit this year, but if we look at the broader picture, the demand is still going up every single year. It is a clear shift towards EVs in the car market. It just might take a bit longer than people first expected it to. So, as a final thing, this is my raw opinion in all of this. I think that Japanese car makers so far has been proven right. People around the world were not ready to switch to EVs that quickly, and the infrastructure that was supposed to be provided by governments that pushed for EVs were still not there, which is why Japanese automakers are still raking in cash from their old vehicle models. But the Japanese people, as most car companies in the world, sees that the EV future is here to stay, and they're really putting up the money now to catch up. But this is the scary part. They did all these calculations, right, to try to figure out when to jump on the EV bandwagon, and now they think the timing is right. But is that enough? I mean, the competition that might have been too early to the game has definitely not been asleep. I mean, just look at BYD in China, right? They're like freaking making new EV models every day, and like every model they release is better than the other one. And they are so ahead in the game compared to Japanese competitors. And I don't think they're just gonna wait until Japanese competitors are catching up. I actually think they're accelerating their EV push and their EV technology, which is why I'm very scared for Japanese cars. I'm scared that Japanese automakers might not be able to catch up. Maybe one, like Toyota, could catch up just because they have so much money, but smaller companies that are already struggling, I'm looking at you, Nissan, they might be out of the game very soon. I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. I think Japan has loads of other interesting companies in the EV field too, like Nidec, one of the world's largest EV engine manufacturers, or Panasonic that I just mentioned. But I would be quite careful of Japanese car manufacturers, which is why I myself, the founder of KonichiValue, the Japanese stock investment website, does not recommend anyone to hold Japanese car stocks. At least not for now. This has been my 2 cents on the Japanese EV car manufacturing prowess. Whew, that was a tough sentence to say. But whatever. Anyways, I hope you liked this video, and please leave a comment, do all the things you should do to support me and make this into a channel that people actually watch, please. Other than that, I just want to say, have a good day. Bye-bye.